Hello, so today we're going to be going over complex numbers and the number I. Wow, that sounds stupid, doesn't it? The number I. Well, I doesn't stand for anything other than the imaginary unit. Well, what is the imaginary unit? I simply equals the square root of -1. Isn't that stupid, right? That's dumb. I can't take the square root of -1. Of course you can't. That's why we have I. I stands for something that's impossible. It's imaginary. If you were to find I on a number line, you'd be wrong. Because I is not a real number. I isn't a real number at all. But square root of -1 isn't a real number either. So why is I important? Well, I is important because of a few simple rules. We have I squared, I cubed, and I to the fourth. Well, we already know that I equals the square root of -1. Well then, I squared, because if we square this whole equation, that'll cancel out the square root, and I squared equals -1. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I cubed equals -I. So I cubed basically equals the negative square root of -1. That's dumb, but it's something you'll have to remember. Now, I to the fourth, this is the easiest one you'll know. I to the fourth is simply 1. Because what we're doing here is we're squaring I squared. I squared, which would equal -1. -1 squared is just 1. So these you're all going to want to write down. These are pretty important, so just keep that in mind. So now we know what I is, but what's a complex number? Well, a complex number, you're going to want to write this down too. A complex number is just a constant plus a constant times I. This is a complex number in its most basic form. So, as an example, 1 plus 2I is a complex number. This is all technically one number, because we have 2I, and this isn't a real number. But 2 is, because it's the constant times the I. And then we have A, which is a constant plus this part. Now, that is kind of important, and you'll need to remember it. But in the book, it's going to throw you some questions like, well, add these two complex numbers. And you're going to be like, whoa, how in the world do we add two complex numbers? It's super, super simple. So let's say we have 3 plus 2I. I like those numbers. And let's add 6 plus 7I. Now, all you do for addition is you add the like terms. I mean, it's really that simple. You have 3 plus 6. That equals 9. 9. And then over here you have the 2 plus the 7, which equals, wow, that equals 9I as well. Now, the thing is, since these are the like terms, the 2I and the 7I, you keep the I on this. So you end up with 3 plus 2I plus 6 plus 7I equals 9 plus 9I. That's relatively simple enough. That actually is simple enough. If you can't understand this part, you're in the wrong class. Go back to elementary school. All we're doing is we're introducing a variable into the very simple equation. Now, subtracting is literally just as simple. Let's do, because I want to get positive numbers, let's do 6 plus 7I minus 3 plus 2I. Now, what we do once again is we use like terms. So 6 minus 3 equals 3, and then we have 7 minus 2, which is 5. 5I. Now, this is all super, super simple. If you don't understand the adding complex numbers or the subtracting complex numbers, you are in the wrong class. I'm being dead serious here. If this doesn't make crystal clear sense to you already, you're in the wrong place. And you need to do some serious catching up very fast. Now, another type of problem your book's gonna throw at you is multiplying. How do you multiply two like terms? Well, I'm gonna set up an equation with just variables for you real quick. It would be the same as a plus bi times, let's go, c plus di, because I lack creativity. Now, let's say this equation is needing to be multiplied. All you're going to do is use FOIL. So you go first, outside, inside, last. We've all used FOIL before and it makes sense to us. So let's take us an example. 2 plus 3i times 4 plus, let's go 10i. Now, what we do is we're going to go first, so 8, and then we're going to go first, and then we go outside, so plus 20i, and then inside, plus 12i, and then we go last, so plus 30i squared. And remember, this last one is squared because we're taking an I times an I, so we get I squared. Now, I'm going to drag this whole equation real quick right up to here, so just try to keep with me. Now what we do is we're going to combine like terms and simplify. So right here we're going to have 8 because that can't combine with anything else right now. But these two i's can, so we're going to have 32i right here. So we have 8 plus 32i, and now this part, I squared, you have to go back to your equation right up here. I squared just equals -1. This is extremely important and you're going to want to remember this. You will use this up through Algebra 2, Trigonometry, and College Algebra. Believe me when I say this, I am in College Algebra right now and we literally just had a test over this a week ago. Now, so you have 8 plus 32i, and this is going to end up equaling -30 because it's times -1. So we simplify one more step. We end up with -28 plus 32i. And that's your answer. You can't simplify it past here because of this I, so you have to keep it in a complex number form. Now, if there's one bit of information I can let you know, it's that this, all right here, wildly important, and you must write it down. I cannot stress enough that this is going to be in every single math class that you take. Write it down. Now, in my next video, I'm going to go over how you divide complex numbers, and if you need any help with any of these topics, or any topics before this, there's either a video or you have the man himself. Mr. Hemphill knows everything there is to know about math. So until next time.